Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello, if you can see me, you can hear me. Can you just drop a comment on the comment section? You can see me, you can hear me. Compliments of the season, everybody. You can see me, you can hear me. Can you drop a comment? Thank you so much. Oh, God. Wow, wow. Yes, my amazing husband is here. Thank you, thank you. Truly, we get inspired today. It's a good time of the year for School of Parenting Online Conversation. So share the link to your friends. Share the link to your friends. Thank you, Brume. I can see you. Thank you. Thank you for joining in today. Let's do well to share the link so that our friends, our loved ones, our family can join in on this conversation. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching me from. This amazing 29th day of December 2025 here. Compliment of the season to you, Brume. Thank you for joining in on this conversation. This is actually the last conversation for the year 2025. We've actually come a long way. This year we started the conversations in the month of February, and every month after that, we have had a number of conversations, and we're actually here right now. The last conversation for the year is amazing. We've said a lot on this platform. We've said a lot on SOP Online Conversation, and I believe that it has been of immense benefits to us in our parenting journey. And even as we continue on these conversations, as we get into the year 2026, I know that we'll have better results in our parenting journey, and we'll begin to know more, we'll connect more with our children, and we shall begin to have more testimonies in our homes and families. So as you join in, you're welcome. Please share the link to your friends and your families so they can join in on this conversation. For those of us that have had results, that we've seen changes in our homes, we've seen changes in our parenting journey, do well to send a comment, do well to send a message, a DM to us so that we know that what we are doing on this conversation is actually making impact and causing a change. So once again, compliments of the season. Like I said, this year we started off with amazing conversations from the month of February. We talked about, I'm just going to run through the conversations we have had this year. And the good thing is that you can listen to these conversations again. Just go to our YouTube channel. Yes, there's actually a YouTube channel. Just go over. You're going to see these conversations, even conversations of years before now, 2 years before now. You're going to see a lot of conversations. You can listen to them again. Take time to just sit down and digest them and get them sinking into your subconscious. We've had conversations. I'm just going to run through them. In this year, we've talked about dealing with entitlement mentality. We talked about juggling the balls as a parent, trying to manage the different aspects of our lives as parents. We talked about building a culture of academic excellence, burnout, fatherhood, the dual role of mentor and model, raising the wholesome teen, the assertive child, sex education, the nitty gritty. I can't forget that conversation. Body safety, the what, the why, and the how. Then the last conversation we had last month, which was breaking free, dealing with pain and trauma as a parent. And I really want, before I go into the conversation for today, which is actually parenting myth, I want to appreciate everyone guest that has come on SOP Online Conversation for this year. I want to say thank you to the teen's best friend, Uzezi Drafwe Deho. Thank you, Reverend Obina Madunagu. Thank you, Ejiro Eze, our amazing marriage, family, mentor, grief counselor. Thank you, Joey Bakery, the lead woman. And thank you, Coach 41. Next year is going to be amazing. It's going to be a promising year for every one of us. And I believe that we're going to join me on this ride next year. I'm going to have amazing conversations. So welcome to today's conversation. Now we're going to be talking about parenting myths. This conversation is going to be brief because I know a lot of us have a lot of things we're doing. It's the 29th day of the year, and we need time to spend with our families, to bond, to laugh, to gist, and the rest. So it's going to be a brief conversation, and I believe that next year probably we're going to have this same conversation and elaborate more on it. So, parenting myth. When we talk about myths, we're actually talking about misconceptions. We're looking at assumptions, misbeliefs, or falsehood. Most times in our parenting journey, there are certain things we have believed that they're true, but they're not actually true. There are certain expectations we have. There are certain misconceptions we have as parents, and we believe that when we go along with these misconceptions, they're going to yield results for us. Sometimes we get to the extreme of certain things that we believe in, and it brings about a lot of stress for us as parents. So we're going to look at some of these things in this conversation. That's why it's called parenting myth. So please do well. Like I said, welcome everyone that just joining in. Share the link, invite your friends and your family. And for those of us that missed previous conversation, you can actually go back to watch them on our YouTube channel. So myth number one, parenting comes naturally. Most people feel that because you just have a child, you biologically have a child, automatically you become a parent. And one thing we keep saying on this platform is that you don't parent by default. Every parent needs to be trained. Every parent needs to have skills. I listened to a parenting coach and she said something that when it comes to other courses, when you want to be a medical doctor, you want to be a dentist, you want to be an engineer, you want to be a pilot, we go to school, we go through the curriculum, and we get licensed, we get certified. We write examinations, but parenting is one journey that we don't need a license. We don't actually get certifications. We don't write exams or tests for us to be issued a license that now you can become a parent. But irrespective of that fact, every parent needs to be trained. Every parent needs skills. Every parent needs knowledge and wisdom to be able to parent well, because you're going on a journey that requires you to know exactly what to do. You're going on a journey that requires you to have knowledge and wisdom. So every parent needs to be equipped. That's the word. So the myth is parenting doesn't come naturally here. You need to be equipped. You need to be trained. You need to equip yourself with the necessary tools for the job you're about to do. Because every parent is entrusted with the responsibility, and with responsibility, you need skills. If you don't have the required skills to execute your responsibility, you're going to fail. It's going to be stressful. You're going to whine. You're going to complain. You're going to mumble. So it's very important that we understand that as parents, we need to be trained. We need to acquire skills. And one of the ways we get trained, you read books. You go for seminars, you enroll for programs. Most times we believe as parents that we don't need to spend money to get trained. We don't need to spend money to get skills. But the truth is that you need to invest in yourself to produce or for you to attain the results or the goals that you desire. Every parent wants a particular kind of child. The child you have in your mind, the child that you believe you should have. When you have this child, for you to take that child to that destination, there are certain things that needs to be done. And as a parent, you need to be skilled. Now, your children are likened to arrows in the hands of the mighty warrior, likened to arrows in the hands of a warrior. Every warrior that succeeds in the battlefield must be trained. So for you to be able to shoot your arrow at a target and get, is it bullseye? Yes, you need to be trained. So as parents, we need training. We need to be equipped with the right knowledge, with the right exposure, and we need to have wisdom. So parenting needs, in our parenting journey, we need skills and we need to be trained. Myth number two, the infallibility of parents. People believe that every parent is right. As a parent, whatever you say is correct. Whatever you say cannot always be correct. You're a human being. You make mistakes. So there's nothing like the infallibility of parents. We have parents that feel they cannot apologize to their children. They cannot say, I'm sorry, because they believe that whatever I say as a parent is final and it's correct. Every parent can fall short and every parent can make mistake. So you don't need to take a position of perfection. There is no perfection on this earth. Nobody can be perfect. You cannot be a perfect being, but we can improve on ourselves on a daily basis. We can rise and grow and become excellent, but there is no room for perfection because you cannot be perfect. So every parent must understand that there are certain times you may fall short. There are times you make mistakes. There are times you make the wrong decisions. There are times you do things to your children that ordinarily, wow, I just made a mistake. One thing you need to do as a parent is to admit that you have made a mistake, is to admit that you're at fault, yes, and you apologize. Do you know what it does for your children when you take the position that you have made a mistake and you say, I'm sorry? You are teaching them to be able to take responsibility for their mistakes. You're teaching them to be able to take ownership when they fall short. And you're teaching them that even in that state, they can apologize, take responsibility, and be sorry. But when we take the position that we know it all, we don't make mistakes, I can't say I'm sorry, I'm the parent, you are communicating something to your child that your child will absorb, digest, and begin to model and begin to live out. So every parent can fall short. You are human. You can make mistake. So when you do that, remember what you need to do is admit your mistakes. I am sorry. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have made the decision this way. Oh, I am sorry. I accused you wrongly. Next time I'll pay more attention to you. Next time I'll listen more to you. Next time when you're talking, I'll calm down and listen. I am sorry. Sorry doesn't make you less. Sorry doesn't take anything like makes you feel less. It doesn't make you feel unworthy. It just makes you take a standpoint that you know that you're human, you're not perfect. And when you make mistakes for your children, please do apologize. It's one of the ways you role model the right behavior to your children. Because when you find it difficult to say, I am sorry, and your child does the wrong thing, I tell the child, say, I'm sorry. The child is wondering, when you make mistakes, you don't even tell me you're sorry. So there is nothing like the infallibility of parents that parents don't make mistakes, please. We'll fall short sometimes. When we fall down, we dust ourselves up, we apologize, and we move further. So myth number 3 says, parenting is done primarily by mothers. I'm going to stay on this for a little while. Now, the myth is that parenting is the job of the mothers. There was a time, I think 2 years ago, we had a conversation on it takes two to parent. Yes, I remember the conversation. I think the guest we had then was Pastor Wisdom in Lileji. Yes, I remember. It takes two to parent. Now, parenting involves two, the father and the mother. Now, parenting is not just left for the mothers. We find out sometimes in our society that virtually some things are just left for the mothers. Let me narrow it down to a point. Now, you see that when it comes to schools, most times if I ask the parents on this platform now, probably the fathers, when last did you go for your child's open day in school? When last did you go for the extracurricular activities of your child in school? When last probably did you sit with your child and ask, okay, the assignments, how? And there's certain things that's involved that the life of our children revolves around. And sometimes we feel that, okay, this is the job of the mother. But in parenting, it takes two to parent. There has to be uniformity. There has to be unity. You have to parent your child together. Every parent has a role to play. The father has a unique role to play in the upbringing of a child. The mother has a unique role to play in the upbringing of a child. Now, I know we say, okay, father, when you provide the money, yes, you are provided, you pay the fees, and you provide food on the table, you provide the clothes, but it's not enough. There's a part of connecting with your children. There's a part of connecting with your daughters. There's a part of connecting with your sons. There are various researches that have shown that when we have present fathers in the life of a child, it can slow down the child, the daughter or the girl from entering into puberty too early. So there are a lot of researches that show the impact of a present father in the life of a son. So we do not leave certain aspects and feel, okay, parenting is for the mothers. So the mothers sit at home and raise the children and everything is just, I have provided and I leave the rest. No, parenting, it takes two to parent, the father and the mother. And even when we have scenarios or situations where probably there is no father, probably due to separation, divorce, demise, and the rest, death and the rest, it's so important that we find a way to fill that void in the life of a child by having a father figure or a mother figure. I think I've said that a lot in our conversations. But one thing I'm trying to clear now, one myth is that parenting is done primarily by mothers. It takes two to parent. It takes the father and the mother to parent. So if you want to raise an awesome child, you need to have everybody playing their role, the father playing his role, the mother playing his role. He said, children, listen to the instruction of your fathers and the teachings of your mothers. So fathers have their role, mothers have their role. It takes two to parent. Myth number 5 says, parents talk, children keep silent and have no voice. Okay. Most times as parents, we get so carried away that we just shut down our children and just hush them down, and we feel that they don't have anything to say. But parents should allow their children to express themselves. There's a point where you sit down and let your children talk. Let them hear their opinion. Have conversations with your children. So parents should not just be the ones that just speak. You're not in a lecture theater and you just give the lecture, and you give the lecture, and you give the lecture. And when you keep giving the lecture, you don't need any feedback. When you talk, expect that your children talk back to you. When I mean talk back, say something, give their opinions, air their views. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to take all those, the view. It helps you to understand how your child thinks sometimes. So you can actually guide them the proper way they should go. So when you kill the voice of your child, you actually affect the self-esteem of your child, their self-confidence. Allow your children to have a voice. Because when you shut them down in the house, what you do is that you kill their self-esteem, you kill their self-confidence, and children go out and they feel that I am worthless, I have nothing to offer. Because even at home, nobody regards, nobody gives me the opportunity to say anything. So when I get out there, what do I have to say? So parents should be able to allow their children to speak up, to be able to talk. Now, they may not always say what is right, but when they have the opportunity to speak, then you can correct, then you can guide, then you can put them in the right path. So it's important that we correct the myth that parents talk and children have no voice. So when I'm speaking or when I say anything, you don't have anything to contribute. Even when it comes to the point of, when we talk about family vision and family values and the rest, when you talk about creating your family vision, your children have a voice. When they are there in the house, they have a voice. They should be able to contribute to that path in your home. So when we're talking about the myth that parents talk and children, you don't have the right to say anything. Just keep quiet and just listen. I'm the parent. You're actually killing their voice. You're actually putting them in a realm where they feel that they have nothing to offer. And it affects their self-esteem and it affects their self-confidence. So let us give our children the opportunity to speak up. Do not kill the curiosity of your children, even the younger ones. Sometimes you're just like, what do you want to say? What do you even know? Do you even know anything? Let a child speak. If the child is going to say a lot of things that look like, well, the child's not making sense, help the child to make sense. So correct the child, put the child on the right track. Do it. So that's just it. So try not to shut your children down. Even sometimes it looks like, especially when you have young ones, they just keep talking and talking and talking. Oh my God. But you give them the opportunity to speak because it makes them feel like, okay, I can be heard. Somebody's listening to me, and it builds their confidence. So it makes them feel that I have something to offer. So welcome everyone that's joining us. If you're just joining us, welcome. We're talking about parenting myths, and that's misconceptions and misbeliefs that we have even as parents as we work through our parenting journey. So we're actually talking about the myth and the reality. So I'm going to go over to myth number 6. And if you're actually on this conversation, do share the link for your friends and family to join in on this conversation. So myth number 6, good children never misbehave or throw tantrums. Wow. Most times, I don't know if you've been in that situation, probably when you go to the mall and you take your child, probably your preschooler, your toddler, and even children older than that, and they tend to want to throw tantrums. Probably you want something and you're like, you can get this. And sometimes people just look at you like, what's happening here? And so people just tend to want to judge you in their mind, like, you didn't raise your child well. How can your child be throwing tantrums in public areas? Sometimes I used to feel some of that. But the truth is that the fact that your child throws tantrums or probably misbehave doesn't mean the child is a bad child. Now, children have big emotions and they find a way to want to express their emotions, especially the young ones. And sometimes children tend to want to push boundaries. They want to test boundaries. And when they try to express these their big emotions, they express it anyhow they feel they can express. And that turns out to be tantrums. And they just yell, they just scream, they just want to have their way, they tell you no, they just want to stand their ground. But the fact that a child is throwing tantrum at that time or probably has misbehaved doesn't brand or label the child as a bad child. What we need to do as parents is to help them regulate their emotions, teach them how to express themselves right. Teach them how to say, I am happy. When I talk to my daughter and even my nephew, I used to tell them that when you're angry, say you're angry. You don't have to yell, you don't have to scream. You have to voice out your emotion. You have to you have to teach them how to regulate, because sometimes when they have these emotions, they don't understand these emotions. They don't know how to they cannot properly articulate the emotion and express it. So what we do as parents is you teach them. When you're angry, say I'm angry. When you're sad, say I'm sad. Do you understand? So what we need to do is to understand that the fact that the child is throwing tantrum at that particular time doesn't brand that child as a bad child, because children need to be taught how to express themselves, how to regulate their emotions. So it's very important that we understand these things. And as parents, it's our job to be able to guide them, to be able to teach them, to be able to have genuine connection with them, to make them understand that it's normal to feel sad, it's normal to feel angry, but there's a right way to express these emotions. There's a right way to express that you're sad. There's a right way to express that you're angry. There's a right way to express you're happy. So we have a job to do as parents in teaching them on how to navigate their emotions and express them properly. So good children never misbehave or throw tantrums. That's a myth. Because even every one of us that have grown, the time that we throw tantrums, even as adults, have you ever wondered that as an adult you throw tantrums sometimes? Yeah, there's sometimes you throw tantrums as an adult. So the truth is that it doesn't mean that the child is a bad child. So myth number 7. Myth number 7. You can spoil a baby by holding them too much. Now, the parenting myth it spans over different ages. Now, I'm talking about babies now. You can, I don't know if you have heard people talk about, I've heard it a number of times, that the child may be crying, and when they're trying to pick up the child, like, don't carry that child, though. You're spoiling the child by always carrying the child. Like, So the myth is you can spoil a child by holding them too much. But do you know that babies need to be held? They need to be cuddled. You need to snuggle your baby. You need to hold them close. It's part of the way of building connection with your child. So when you feel that, okay, if I carry this child, I'm spoiling the child, I'm carrying the child too much, I don't understand. At that age, what that child needs is connection. And one of the ways you connect, one of the ways you express love to your child is to hold them. Even when they begin to grow into toddlers and preschoolers, hold them. It gives them this sense of warmth. It gives them this sense of, I am protected, I am connected. Even as adults, we like to be hugged, we like to be held, we like to be cuddled. And because it just sends a message to you that I am loved. So you can imagine a baby. You now say that when you hold a baby too much, you're spoiling the child. Holding and snuggling builds some attachment. It regulates baby systems and provide a foundation for confidence and exploration. So you need to hold your baby. Yes, cuddle them. Don't leave them just say, oh, cry. Like, no, I don't want to spoil the child. I don't want to spoil the child. Where did you get that knowledge from? Your baby's crying, cuddle your child. Your preschooler is crying, after a while, cuddle them. It expresses love. It's one of the ways they feel loved. Even if physical touch may not necessarily be their primary love language, but everybody wants to be held. Everybody wants to be cuddled one way or the other, because it's part of the way that you express love to people, not to talk of babies. So are we following me on this conversation? If you're actually on this conversation, can I see some comments in the comment section? Okay, I'm seeing some things here. I'm going to read out some comments. Allow your children air their views and opinions. Don't kill their voice and esteem. Allowing them gives room to building them. So we can drop our comments. If you have questions, you can actually drop them on the comment section. Don't leave parenting to one person alone. It takes two. It actually takes two to parent. Now we're actually talking about parenting myths, misconceptions, misbeliefs. And I said from the beginning, I've talked about different myths. Myth number 1, parenting comes naturally. Myth number 2, the infallibility of parents. Myth number 3, parenting is done primarily by mothers. Myth number 5, parents should talk and children do not even have a voice. They should keep quiet and not say anything. Myth number 6, good children never misbehave or throw tantrums. And myth number 7, you can spoil a baby by holding them too much. Now let's go over to myth number 8. Discipline means punishment. Now in this part, I'm not going to dwell so much on this part. This is a whole conversation on its own. And I think in 2026, we're going to have a conversation on discipline. Because, most times we tend to, what's the word now? Confuse discipline for punishment. We need to have a whole conversation on this. Discipline actually has to do with teaching and training. When you say you're going to discipline someone, it actually means you're going to raise a disciple. And discipling means molding and training and building. So it's a misconception to think that discipline equates punishment. Punishment has to do with inflicting pain. It has to be do with inflicting fear. And most of the times when you inflict fear on our children, it brings about temporary obedience. Yes, the children have to obey you temporary, but in the long run, what's the long-term results? What's the long-term results? So when we talk about discipline, discipline does not mean punishment. True discipline involves teaching and training and not inflicting pain or fear. Fear-based parenting may force temporary obedience, but it damages self-esteem and encourages lying, anxiety, and rebellion. So when we talk about discipline, let's think well as parents. When you say, I'm actually disciplining my child and you're inflicting pain, most times some parents even inflict physical pain. I've seen children that I've seen a child that was actually, in quote, disciplined, and he had marks on his body. That was the discipline. And I was wondering, and when the child was actually talking to me, the whole thing did not even change him one bit. He was infuriated. He had so much anger boiling in his inside of him, and he was thinking of a lot of negative things to do. And I was wondering, now in the mind of the disciplinarian or the person that disciplined, you have just disciplined that child. But in the long run, there was no result. So discipline does not mean punishment. Discipline has to do with teaching, has to do with training. And I remember, I can't actually remember the exact 10 list, but Petrol actually said something a while ago, like before you spank your child or before you flog your child, there are certain questions that you need to answer. And one of them was like, have you actually taught that child? And one of the other questions was that you have taught the child. Did the child understand what you taught the child? So most times we just yell and we assume as parents that you ought to know this thing. In parenting, you should not be assuming anything. There is no room for assumption when you're parenting your children. Either they are taught and they understand, or they don't know anything, or they don't understand at all. So you don't need to assume that at this age you should know this. Did you teach that child? Or I thought by now you should know how to do this. Was the child taught? Now, if you say, okay, yes, the child was taught. Did the child understand what you taught him or her? So discipline is not equal to punishment. They are two separate things. They are two different things. And I know if we're going to go into that, we're going to shake a lot of tables and there's going to be a lot now, but we're going to save that discipline for a conversation, one of the months next year. We're going to actually look into discipline in depth and see what discipline actually means. But the myth for today, the 8th myth for today is that discipline means punishment. But in reality, discipline does not mean punishment. Discipline has to do with teaching and training. Punishment has to do with inflicting pain. So that's entirely different things. So let's go over to myth number 9. Myth number 9. Myth number 9 says, children always, now, okay, please, you have to listen to me very well on this. Children always come first, even before your marriage and yourself. How do I break this down? As parents, when you begin to have children, there's this way we live our life as parents. Our children come first. So you put your children, when you're thinking of everything, the child first, the child first. Do you know that marital love, healthy marital love, is necessary and a prerequisite for parental love? Healthy marital love is needed. You need a sane home for you to raise an awesome child. So if something is wrong with your marriage or something is wrong with your marital love, it can have an effect on how you raise your child. So you need to focus on certain aspects of your life and make sure that they are working for you to be able to raise your child or raise an awesome child. Now, when I talk about the myth of always putting your children first, now you need to pay attention to your spouse. Most times as parents, when we begin to have children, we forget our spouse. Everything we do is focused on the child. But the truth is that before the child was your spouse or is your spouse. So you need to maintain that relationship for you to be able to have, for you to be able to have enough positive result in this relationship. So your marital relationship is also priority. Your parenting relationship is priority. You don't ditch your marital relationship because you have a parenting relationship. Now, it's important that you have a healthy marital life so that you can parent well. If you have a marriage that is shaky and there's so much chaos, how do you expect to be a parent that is effective? Because you're going to carry the garbage or the baggage from your faulty marriage or from your marriage that has problems, and you're going to bring it into your parenting journey. So there's going to be issues. So you need to pay attention to your marriage, and you also need to pay attention to yourself. There's something someone said many years ago. I think one of our parenting was, no, not just a conversation, but actually having a workshop, a parenting workshop, and somebody said something that stuck. Now she was trying to explain self-care, and she used the illustration. If you have ever entered a flight, before the flight takes off, there's this um pep talk that the air hostesses come and do for safety and the rest, your belt, putting your the belt on and the rest. And one of the pep talk is actually on if there's an issue on the flight and the air max falls. They actually tell you need to fix yours first before you can actually render assistance to someone else. So it's important. It's like parenting. You need to take care of you for you to take care of someone else. If you have not been able to take care of yourself, you can effectively take care of another person. So most times as parents, we forget ourselves. We get drained. We talked about burnout in this year. Yes, we actually talked about burnout. So if you want to listen to that conversation, you can go back and check our videos. You see the conversation on burnout. We actually deprive ourselves of rest. We deprive ourselves of sleep. We deprive ourselves of eating healthy. We deprive ourselves of growing, developing ourselves. And at the end of it, it affects us raising our children, the parenting journey in the long run. So we need to take care of ourselves. Self-care is important. Self-love is key, is important. Loving your spouse is important. That you are a parent does not mean you should mortgage your marital relationship or you should mortgage self-love. Now, I'm going to read something someone said. It says, a happy, emotional, nourished parent is a far better gift than a stressed and exhausted one. So you need to take care of yourself. So in 2026, one of the things you need to do as a parent is that you're going to prioritize your marriage and you're going to prioritize yourself. Now, I'm not telling you not to prioritize your children. You're going to take care of them. But if you have a faulty home, your marriage is not working, it's going to affect how you raise your children. If you're not taking care of yourself and you're stressed, it's going to affect how you raise your children. Most of the times as parents, one of the reasons why we yell and shout and scream and we cannot remain calm is because we're stressed. So in the long run, you are stressed and you pour the stress on your spouse and you pour the stress on your children. So what difference are you making? So in 2026, you need to take a deep breath, calm down, take care of yourself, enjoy the life. That you have a child doesn't mean that you should not have fun anymore. Have planned trip with your spouse. Go on vacations. Plan family vacations where you rest and you relax and you chill and you breathe. So it helps you to parent better. So the myth is children always comes first. And I say above your marriage and yourself. No, you need to take care of yourself. You also need to take care of your marriage. But you also need to take care of your children. So you have to find a way to be able to give each attention and not mortgage one for the other. Very important. Now, some of us, before I move to the next myth, some of us, if they ask us now what's the most important thing in our life, we're going to say our children. And we forget that we married somebody before we had those children. And we're going to say our children. But at the end of it all, when your children finally get grown up and leave you, they're going to leave you with that spouse, they're going to leave you with that man or that woman. And what happens? You're going to start all over again. So let's prioritize our marital love, prioritize self-love, and also give attention to parental love. Okay, I will forget anything or two from today's conversation. I believe we are. If you have questions, you can drop in the comment section, share the link to your friends and family. Like I said, every conversation we've had, I think all the conversations, apart from a few that we've had since the inception of School of Parenting Online Conversation, you can find them on our YouTube channel. You can go back and listen to them, digest them, apply them. Everything we say on this conversation, we're not just talking. The reason why we're speaking here is for you to be able to implement. Now, in implementation, sometimes you fall, but when you fall, you get up, dust yourself, and you continue the parenting journey. So let's go over to the next myth. The next myth is myth number 10. Yes, we're myth number 10. I said earlier that this conversation is not going to take the entire 1 hour we normally have because this is the festive period that we need to spend time with our family. So, but we're going to go in a few minutes, we're going to be wrapping up this conversation. But I believe that we're getting a thing or two, or one or two things from this conversation that's going to be beneficial to every one of us. So myth number 10 says, a good parent never shouts. A good parent never shouts. Most times, um, when we start screaming, somebody like, you're a bad parent. The truth is that when we move from yelling and shouting to calmness, it's actually a work in progress. It's a process. You can imagine yourself that you've always been that person that knows that yells, that scream, and then you're in the process of becoming a calm parent. Now, you are a work in progress. So, a good parent, the myth is a good parent never shouts. Now, moving from yelling and screaming to calm is a process. And as we progress, there are times that we'll flip out. There are times that we're going to yell. There are times you're going to shout. But when you get to that point, call yourself back, calm down, apologize, think about what triggered you, and see how you can give attention to that trigger so that next time you can know how to handle it when it comes up. Now, there are certain times that, even in the process of raising my daughter, there are certain times that I've screamed. I yell. And the funny thing, you're like, Mommy, you're screaming. Mommy, you're yelling. And I like, uh-oh. And I, okay, I'm sorry. I raised my voice. So I actually call myself back to order. It's a work in progress. But you need to make up your mind that you want to move from being a yelling parent to a calm parent. Because the truth is that the yelling and the shouting, you don't need to do that to actually communicate a message. Because you can be firm and you're not yelling. You can be firm and you're not shouting. So become calm and you're communicating the message to that child. It doesn't even have to be your child, to anybody. You can be calm, you're firm, and you're communicating the message. So every parent, we need to work on ourselves and actually move from yelling to calmness. But what I'm trying to say, that the myth is a good parent never shouts. I'm saying in reality, there are times you may flip. But even when you flip, call yourself back to order. Apologize. Go over what triggered you. Pay attention to that trigger and know how to handle it when it surfaces again. So it's very important we do that. Now, one bad day doesn't define you. One bad incident doesn't define you. One bad day that you yell doesn't define you as a yelling parent or a bad parent. What you need to do is that children, or you need to understand, is that children don't need perfect parents. They need real parents who apologize, reconnect, and try again. You cannot be a perfect parent. I cannot overemphasize that. Your children are not looking for perfect parents. They're looking for parents that will connect with them, parents that can be real with them, parents that can show them that I am human and you are also human. And even when you, what's the word? You stagger in any journey of life, you can actually call yourself back to order and go in the right path. So it's so important that you understand that the myth, good parents do not shout, is actually a myth. In reality, there are times you may flip, but when you do that, call yourself back to order, rearrange yourself, and go back into the process of moving from yelling to calmness. Okay. Can I see, if you're with me, can I see your emoji or something in the comment section saying you're with me, your favorite emoji? Don't let me know that you're with me so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Actually, no, but can I see something in the comment section to show that you're actually following me on this conversation? Yes, can I see that in the comment section? You have a question, please drop it on the comment section. If you have a contribution to make, you can drop it on the comment section. So the next myth we're going to look at, for today, we're going to actually be looking at, I just have 12 myths that we're going to look at. So I'm going to go over to the 11th one. 11. So, the 11th one says, having a baby doesn't have to change your lifestyle. Having a baby doesn't have to change your lifestyle. Sometimes people feel that, and some people just say, like, it's because you have a baby, that's why you cannot do this thing anymore. It's because you have a child now, that's why you cannot. Having a baby changes everything. It changes your lifestyle. It changes you. Having a child changes you positively. And maybe in some other ways. Now, it changes you physically and psychologically. That's said by a postnatal practitioner. And the postnatal practitioner says it changes your relationships and your social life. Thank you, Brumet. Thank you, Queen. Thank you so much. It changes you and it changes your relationships and social life. There's something I usually tell parents is that every one of us are in different parenting seasons. Every parent is in different parenting seasons. So you cannot judge your life by the life of another parent. You cannot judge your success as a parent with the life of another parent. We are in different parenting seasons. You can't expect to do certain things that a parent who has, what's the word now? Adults, or who have preteens or teenagers. You just have toddlers. You have an infant. There are certain things you can't do at that stage in your parenting season. There are certain things you cannot do. And the faster we admit to ourselves, the better for you. When you have a child, when you have children, it changes some certain things. But as it begins to grow, there are certain things that you can begin to do once, can begin to do again. But you must understand in life that you are in different parenting seasons in your life. You may be a parent that usually travel a lot and do a lot of traveling and the rest, and you now have a baby. You do not expect that probably for 3 months, first 3 months, you're going to, except you have maybe a very good support system that's going to look after the baby. You can't be traveling around. You have to sit down. There's sometimes that in your parenting journey, you have to sit down and raise your children. There are certain things that you have to just cut away and just keep aside. But as they begin to grow, you begin to bring those things back. And in this season, in the parenting season you're in, you have to feel guilty because you have a responsibility to raise those children. So you cannot feel guilty. There are certain things I could not do some years back when my daughter was younger because it was like, oh God, I can't do this thing, I can't do that. Before I had a child, I should say, I can do everything. But the truth is that when you begin to have children, you cannot do everything. Your parenting season will define what you can do part-time. And you must accept it and not feel guilty about it. Because as they begin to grow, you cannot begin to engage in more things. But don't feel bad or feel guilty. It is just a season. So when you see other people doing certain things, you don't just compare yourself like, why can't he do that? Why can't she do that? Especially for the mothers. Why can't she do that? Why can't she be able to do this now? I can't do this now. You are not in the same parenting season. Check the age of your children. So you must not feel guilty. So the myth that says that having a baby doesn't have to change your lifestyle. In reality, it does. It actually changes your lifestyle. It doesn't even only change your lifestyle. For the mothers, it changes you physically for a while. And so women are so lucky you can return back to the way you used to be. But for some, you don't go back there. So it actually changes you physically. And so for some, it changes them emotionally. They go through a lot. And it takes a lot for them to reconfigure themselves and get themselves back. But what I'm trying to say in all of this is that there are parenting seasons. Understand the season you are in. Do not beat yourself or be too hard on yourself or feel guilty that there are certain things you used to do. Should I say pre-parent, when you were pre-parenting season, we used to do before you were a parent that you can't do now. Enjoy the moments. Those babies will soon become adults and you will miss them. Enjoy the moments. So enjoy it while it lasts, but understand your parenting seasons are different. And now I go over to the last myth for today. Myth number 12. Okay. Myth number 12 says, boys don't cry and girls don't get angry. Now, people always say, you're a man, you're a boy, you don't cry. And I wonder, when we teach and tell our boys that you have to be tough, what's the definition of toughness? What's actually the definition of masculinity? How do you define masculine? Yes. How do you define feminine? So when we teach our boys that you have to bottle up all emotions, you don't show your emotions. And I'm wondering, is that actually the true definition of masculinity? We should be teaching our boys how to have self-control, how to be resilient. Yes, teach them how to be resilient, how to have self-control, how to take responsibility. And we begin to teach our children that you don't express your emotions. You have to bottle in your emotions. You're a man. And sometimes you see some people telling a 4-year-old boy, you're a man, why are you crying? The boy is hurt. And you're telling that child, why is he crying? He's a man. He's a boy man. So what actually defines masculinity for us? Is it that you don't express your emotions. You just bottle it up, you just swallow it, and you just keep it within. And what defines femininity for a girl? I say, as a girl, you can speak up. You can say anything. You just have to be quiet, and you just have to obey. You just have to package yourself and look good and come out good, and that is all. You have to have brains. Yes, you have to have brains. You have to have beauty brains, and you have to be able to be in the boardroom. So it's very important that we teach our children, our boys and our girls. Now, emotions are not gender specific. Male have emotions, females have emotions. So emotions are not gender specific. Crying is not weakness. Crying is not actually a sign of weakness. Yes, it's not. It's not. It's a way to express emotions. And the fact that when somebody cries doesn't mean the person is weak. It doesn't translate to weakness. Then also anger is not it's not actually classified as being disrespectful, provided you know how to express your anger properly. It's very important. We need to teach our children to express their emotions in the right way. Emotions are gender specific. We need to hear that. Emotions are not gender specific. I've seen women that do not even know how to cry. They don't really cry. I've seen guys that cry. It doesn't translate to weakness. So we need to train our boys to be sensitive boys. I think that was the word, to be sensitive boys, to be able to put themselves in the shoes of others, to have empathy. I think that should be the word, to have empathy. Put yourself in the shoes of others. We're not raising boys that feel, okay, I don't express my emotions, I bottle my emotions, so I don't have regard for the emotions of people. So we must raise our children to have empathy and to be able to have regard for the emotions of people. That someone is crying doesn't mean the person is weak. Doesn't. It doesn't. Like I said, what defines masculinity and femininity here? What's the true definition? A boy that knows how to take responsibility, a boy that knows how to have self-control, a boy that knows how to be resilient, a boy that knows how to show empathy, to be sensitive to the feelings of others. That should be the true definition of being masculine. What do you think? Teach our girls to be able to think, not just to think that they're just an embodiment of beauty, to just feel that all I need to do is just to package myself and look beautiful, and there is nothing else I can do. Teach them to have a voice. Teach them to be able to understand that they are beautiful inside and outside, not just look good and have nothing of that. So we need to understand it's a myth that boys don't cry. That crying is for the girls. The girls have to be crying, right? The boys just man up. So it's very important that we teach our children well. Okay, someone here dropped a comment that I'm not going to read that. Okay. So it's very important that we understand that there are certain things, misconceptions we have as parents that actually affect the way we raise our children and affect the way we relate with our children and also relate with our spouse. So they're very important. There are a lot of myths. And like I said, this conversation, we're making it brief because this is the period where we need to spend time with our family. I always advocate for creating memories with your family. Yes, and if you are very conversant with, or you have always been a part of SCP Love Conversation, you know that one thing I always end a conversation with is, to a child, love is spelled time. That's a quote by Zig Ziglar. So I believe in spending time with your family. And that's why this conversation is going to be a brief one. Probably by next year, we're going to continue on this parenting myth and see more myths that we have as parents that are not helping us out in our parenting journey. So for today's conversation, I believe you have learned something. I believe you have gained knowledge today. Yes. To a child, love is spent time. Correct. Thank you, Brume. I believe we've gained knowledge today. And of what use is knowledge if you're not going to implement it? Of what use is the information you have when you're not going to translate it into reality and make use of it? So it's important that all you have learned, it may not be everything may not be for you, but the one that's striking for you, you need to pen it down. And we're moving into the new year, so there's a lot of things we need to do as parents. I'm going to be running up now. As parents, sit down together, plan your new year. And if you have not had, you don't have a family vision yet, please have one. You can run your family on assumptions. Before you get into, sit down as a family and have a family vision, have family values, have a family mission, know where you're headed as a family. It's very important. That is very important. And if you need to know how to do that, you can get my book, Family Vision. Yes, you can get my book, Family Vision. You can get the hard copy, you can get the soft copy. If you want the hard copy, you can send us a DM. Yes, we're going to connect you how to get the hard copy. If you want to get the soft copy, you can actually get it on Seller, and it's seller.com/family vision. So it's just easy, seller.com/family vision. So please do well to sit down. Don't enter into the new year without a sense of direction. Enter the new year knowing where you're headed is very important. It may just be a few minutes in a day. This is just 29th. You have 30th and 31st. You can gather the family, have a family meeting, discuss where are we? What did we do right? What did we not get right? Where are we going to? What can we do better as a family? Connect with your family. So, and I'll say to you, you never parent perfectly, but you will always be able to lean on a perfect God. Very important. You will never parent perfectly. You're going to fall short sometimes, but the truth is that you will always be able to lean on a perfect God. So, Merry Christmas, compliments of the season. Wishing you a happy and amazing 2026 in advance. We're going to continue on our SOP online conversations in 2026. So we're going to continue in the month of February in 2026. We're going to have amazing conversations next year, amazing guests. Watch out for our conversations. And I believe it's going to be a blessing to you. You can go back and watch every other conversations we had in time past and sit with them. If you've had testimonies with our conversations, SCP Online Conversations, if you have seen a difference in your parenting journey, in the life of your children and yourself, please do well to send me a DM so I know that actually we're making a difference on this platform. Thank you everyone for joining me on this conversation. Everyone that joined in, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone that's been with me on SCP Online Conversation throughout the year 2025. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you. God bless you. So I'm going to be signing out on this conversation right now. And like I normally sign out, spend time with your family, create memories. When your children leave your home, the memories that you have. So like Zig Ziglar said, I've said it already, but I'm going to say it again. Like Zig Ziglar said, to a child, love is spelled time. I am Kitty Ahmed, the founder of School of Parenting, the convener of School of Parenting Online Conversation. Do have an amazing time, an amazing holiday with your family. Have a beautiful rest. Have a beautiful crossover 2026. I'm going to see you in 2026 for our first online conversation in the month of February. It's bye for now, everyone. Have a beautiful rest. Bye.